Good morning. Today, we're joined by Executive Director of the Iowa Finance Authority, Dave Jamieson, to highlight April as Affordable Housing Month in Iowa. In Iowa, we enjoy an overall low cost of living and rank among the best states in the country for housing affordability. In fact, the 2017 U.S. News and World Report ranked Iowa the third best state for housing affordability. This month marks the 49th anniversary of the Fair Housing Act, which protects against housing discrimination due to race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, and the presence of children when applying for home financing or buying or renting a home. When access to housing is unfairly limited, it in turn limits access to economic opportunity. Affordable housing is the cornerstone of a strong community and thriving families and has far-reaching benefits to our state. Adequate affordable housing options have a positive impact on our economy. And we see the construction that's going on right here in the capital city as an example of a significant amount of housing that is under construction. 16,000 permanent jobs have been created for Iowans through the Affordable Homes Built and Preserved through the Federal Housing Tax Credit Program since its inception. Affordable housing options improve academic outcomes for the children that live in those homes. Children that live in a safe home excel in school and are more likely to participate in extracurricular activities, including living a healthy, more active lifestyle. Lastly, affordable housing options foster good health. Having an affordable home has a profound positive impact on physical and mental health. It's clear that affordable housing enhances the quality of life for Iowans. Now I want to ask Lieutenant Governor Reynolds to step up and tell us more about an innovative tool that is being used to connect Iowans with affordable housing options.
Good morning, and thank you, Governor Branstad. And home is where we make our memories. It's where we build our future and really feel a sense of security. So it's appropriate that we highlight affordable housing in Iowa. As you've heard from Governor Branstad, based on the U.S. News and World Report, housing affordability in Iowa is lower than any of the neighboring states, making this, again, an attractive place to work and raise a family. The Iowa Finance Authority works in partnership with hundreds of hardworking landlords, housing developers, realtors, lenders, small business, and housing advocates in urban and rural areas to ensure that all Iowans have access to affordable housing opportunities. One way this is accomplished is through an innovative statewide housing locator service that aims to ensure that all Iowans can easily locate rental housing to fit their needs. The website iowahousingsearch.org is a unique website that is supported by a toll-free bilingual call center, and this service allows landlords to list properties and for renters to be able to access real-time information on available rental units in their area, and all of this is done at no cost. But it can also be a key resource for employers that are hoping to attract new employees to fill the jobs that they have open in rural Iowa. Governor Branstad and I constantly hear about the obstacles that small businesses have, not only in attracting new talent, but also making sure that housing is available for those employees as they try to hire them at the various industries. The site also includes a portal for social service agencies to access detailed information to assist them in placing hard-to-house clients with suitable housing. This service provides critical link between the rental units in Iowa and Iowans looking for them. So again, we want to just encourage any Iowans in search of rental housings to visit Iowa, and Iowa is spelled out, housingsearch.org. And now it's my pleasure to bring to the podium Iowa Finance Authority Director Dave Jamieson. Dave?
Good morning. Thank you, Governor Branstad and Lieutenant Governor Reynolds, for highlighting the importance of housing in Iowa. The demand for adequate housing in our state remains strong, as does the commitment from developers and builders to preserve more homes for Iowans. Just last month, the Iowa Finance Authority Board of Directors awarded federal housing tax credits to 11 properties to build and preserve an additional 513 affordable rental homes in 8 counties in Iowa. The Iowa Finance Authority received applications requesting more than $17 million in housing credits, and we're only able to award 7.6. So I think that's strong evidence of the demand, and that's good for Iowans because that makes sure the best projects are the ones that get funded. The Iowa Finance Authority doesn't build homes or apartments. Rather, we have a long history of partnering with the people, the profits, nonprofit businesses that do that. These partnerships are central to our mission and allow us to provide the financing necessary so that they can do what they do so well. Affordable Housing Month is an ideal time to say thank you to all our partners for their tireless efforts, and we look forward to working together to ensure Iowans have an affordable place to call home for generations to come. I encourage all Iowans in search of housing to visit iowahousingsearch.org. Thank you.
Dave, thank you very much. Now we take questions on this subject first.
Service is not available before this is starting up for brand new.
So we come up here.
This website's been available for about 3-4 years now. We like to refocus attention on it, and it's all rental units, not just those defined as affordable rental units. So it's out there. It's very robust. We encourage landlords and property managers to go to the website. It's free. List their properties, and it's got a very robust search engine, so you can put in inquiries about closeness to facilities, hospitals, parks, recreation, things like that. But it's been out there, but we're continuing. I think there's over 30,000 rental units in Iowa. 50,000 rental units in Iowa. We'd like to get them all on the website if possible. I'm going to look to my communications director for on the hits.
Other questions? Are there any other questions on the subject? This is a very important subject because as we work on economic development, one of the challenges the Lieutenant Governor mentioned is we hear this from companies and communities across the state. One of the challenges is having affordable housing that's close to the workplace. In a lot of communities, you have people commuting significant distances for work. Okay? We'll talk about other subjects if you'd like.
Governor, legislators have crafted final budget plan. Are you concerned about tuition increases at the community colleges, at the Regents institutions because of
Well, one of the things that's going to help, I think, is the collective bargaining reforms that was passed earlier this session. It's going to give a lot more flexibility, not only to the state agencies, but to the community colleges and the state university. They're not going to have to bargain for that, and they're not going to have to pay 100% of the cost. There can be some sharing, and I think by having a larger, by sharing the risk, by having a larger pool of recipients, I think there can be substantial savings in both the university and community college budgets. That would take effect January 1st, as you may recall. The healthcare, I believe, at least for state employees. Maybe it's different for colleges.
July 1 for college.
It's giant. Okay, good point. There, for state employees,
Yep.
it's January 1, but for the community colleges and the state universities, it's July 1, which means the whole fiscal year. So there would be even twice as much savings for them as there's going to be for state government.
was that savings realized?
Well, the agreement doesn't include health care. That is no longer part of bargaining. That was part of the law change. So now it's up to the regents to put together the health care plan for the universities. And I've had some discussions with Bruce Rassetter about that. They think there will be significant benefit and savings to them that can be passed along, obviously, to the students and not having to raise tuition as much.
You had talked earlier about wanting to come up with a pool for all areas of government.
Right.
Or at least state
No, we're working on that. Well, first of all, this is not, the legislature already acted and took this out of collective bargaining. It is now the responsibility of the not Department of Management,
Yes.
Administrative Services, Department of Administrative Services to put this together. And they've been working on this since the beginning of this calendar year. So I know they're working on this very diligently. We expect that they will have a plan and that we want to offer also to counties, cities, and school districts that would like to participate too, and have, by spreading the risk and having a larger pool, we think there can be significant savings to them. Obviously, the community colleges and the state universities, theirs comes quicker, July 1. So, but we think it's going to be a significant benefit all the way around. You've seen just the savings from legislators contributing to it is, I think, $500,000 a year. That's just legislators, and that's a small group compared to all of the state employees and all the employees of the state universities and the community colleges. So we think the savings here is in the tens of millions of dollars.
What is your timetable for China?
Well, I still have to go through the confirmation process. I was in Washington, D.C. for 3 days last week and met with a number of senators. They are on a 2-week Easter break this week and next week. I'll be going back for a couple of days in the last week of April. I anticipate, it's up to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee to set the date for the hearing, and I think it could be sometime in May.
Governor, it was announced over the weekend that China is going to allow greater access to its international markets and allow beef imports. How much impact is that going to have for companies like Principal and Iowa beef markets?
Well, these are things we've been working on for years. Principal has a partner in China, and they've been working for 10 years. You may recall that we brought that up with then Vice President Xi when he was here in February 15th of 2012. And he specifically mentioned Principal in his remarks, at that state dinner that we had. I also was in China in November, met with Minister Han, who's their ag minister, and he indicated they do intend to open China for beef. I mean, it's been closed for American beef because of mad cow disease that occurred 13 years ago. And the mad cow came from Canada, by the way. So we think it's about time. I want to be able to serve Iowa premium beef at the embassy and at the ambassador's residence. It was going over big in Japan. When on our trade mission in November, we had a press conference and a tasting in Japan, and the sales have gone up dramatically there. Obviously, that we're selling them a lot of pork, we're selling them a lot of soybeans, but beef could be big. And if Principal and other financial institutions can have access to their market, that also could be really important. So I'm excited about that. I also know our process, just from my experience, is slow and cumbersome. And I would say the Chinese are equally or maybe even more slow and cumbersome when it comes to addressing some of these issues.
I have a question in regards to the gun bill, Governor. Polk County Attorney John Sarcone said, told us he wants you to veto the bill. One of his concerns about standing your ground in terms of prosecuting it. But one of the things that we're hearing from a number of legislators and people like that, and the Supreme Court issued us a statement saying that we have significant concerns about guns in courthouses. There's also concerns about, you're aware that there has been a death in an Iowa courthouse in Jackson County in 2014. Had a killing of a mayor at a city council meeting, as you well remember.
Ed King,
There's
yeah,
a
from
concern that this
Mount Pleasant.
is not clear enough to make it clear whether or not guns are or are not allowed in courthouses. Can you just, do you have any thought about vetoing it as a result of that?
Well, first of all, I want to commend the people that have managed this legislation. Representative Winchell met with the Lieutenant Governor and I on a number of occasions, and we recommended some changes that were approved in the Senate. Also, Dan Dawson, who's a law enforcement officer, managed the bill in the Senate. It gained bipartisan support. I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment. We're going to carefully review it, but I think they've tried to build the safeguards and reasonableness and fairness into the legislation. And yeah, I've heard from John Sarcone on this issue, and I've heard from many others on both sides of the issue. And obviously, I try to look at and review everything before making a final decision. But generally speaking, I think that the people that managed this bill were very careful in trying to craft something that they felt was reasonable and something that I could support.
What has changed since December of 24? When you said Iowa's gun laws, you didn't want to see?
Well, obviously, a number of issues and questions have come up, and this bill, I think, addresses a number of the concerns that I know. For instance, there's a family from Ankeny whose children would like to be able to use firearms under the supervision of their parents, and they're not permitted to. That's one. They feel very strongly about it. I've met with that family. There are many others. Mr. Winchittle and also Dan Dawson are both people that are very knowledgeable and have worked very diligently on this piece of legislation. So, they take their responsibility seriously, and I think I have to take my responsibility seriously.
I have a question on Chase Nicholson, man being questioned about from standing last week on Grant. He supposedly had a mental illness and tried to seek treatment, but was never able to get that because he wasn't allowed to stay in the facility longer than 24 hours. Can you comment on that? Do you think this is?
Well, I think we always have to look at and review what we can do in terms of protecting public safety with regard to people that have mental illness issues. And I understand, the situations. I remember, the tragedy we had with Ed Thomas. And we constantly need to look at and review our mental health laws to protect the safety of the public as well as the rights of the individuals. And so I think it would be appropriate for us, in light of what happened here, this terrible tragedy, 3 members of the family murdered, and it appears by another member of the family. Obviously, he is a suspect as of this time. But my heart goes out to the family and to the friends of that family.
So are you saying when you said it would be appropriate here for what?
Well-
Whether or not he was given appropriate mental health treatment?
Well, there are many people that have mental health issues. And there was a time when we used to house them in these, what they used to call insane asylums. And we've gotten away from that. And we've gone to more trying to treat people that have mental health issues using, community-based services, but also using pharmaceuticals. And if they stay on the meds, a lot of times they can manage these conditions. And so it's important in this case. I understand this individual was under the treatment of healthcare professionals. And obviously we look to these healthcare professionals to provide that kind of treatment, and then to notify authorities if there are issues that could affect the well-being and safety of citizens of our state.
There's a voter ID bill that's still being finalized in the legislature. The fiscal note attached to it really puts public outreach at $50,000, and a lot of advocacy groups have said that's simply not enough money to ensure that all Iowans know that there are major changes potentially coming their way. I know that in your original budget proposal, you had some money for FY19. There's talk of these things getting sorted out here, but do you think that $50,000 is enough to get the public to know about these changes?
Well, obviously, we reserve judgment on all legislation till we see it in its final form. And I think we need to continue to do what we can to inform the public about our election laws. We want simple and fair election laws, but we also want to protect the integrity of the ballot box. We want to prevent cheating and people voting in more than one place and make sure that our laws are administered in a fair way. And we want to work with the Secretary of State, with the auditors, and with both houses of the legislature to come up with the best system to meet the needs of the people of Iowa in the future. And budget-wise, I know the budget's tight, but I think protecting the integrity of the ballot box is something that is an important priority with regard to funding.
Well, and really, one avenue that you can use is the Auditors Association, the State Auditors Association. So we have 99 county auditors across the state that would have an opportunity, as they do each and every election cycle, to make sure that their constituents understand the process and are aware of what's happening. So that's a great opportunity also through just working with the County Auditors Association and helping with the outreach. That's what they do every year, and they do a great job of it. So that's an opportunity also.
I mean, some of them have expressed concern that there are going to be a lot of costs kind of trickled down to them that should be handled by the state. Is it on them to do all of this outreach that the state should be?
Well, they do it anyway.
Yeah, well, I think it's a responsibility of both the state and the auditors to do this. They are the local election officials at the county level, and the Secretary of State is at the state level. But we also want to work with the legislature, and certainly we want to do what part we can, the executive branch, to make people aware of the changes and improvements in the law to protect the integrity of the ballot box.
Should early voting be reduced from 40 days to 29 days?
Well, I understand that's part of the legislation. Obviously, you can make requests before that time, but that's just when they mail out the ballots. So I don't think it makes a big difference. One of the things that isn't in the bill that I think would make sense is to reduce the election day from the polls closing at 9 o'clock to 8 o'clock. We're out of sync with the rest of the world. We don't come in until the mountain states in the West, and and a lot of these people that work at the polls, now it's not in the legislation, but it's something I would like to see. And I think a lot of people that work on election day would love to see the Iowa polls close at 8. I think the public would too like to see the returns and not have to wait up so late to see what the election results are.
So back to the event itself, if you find that it allows deals to get events in the Capitol, what plans do you have to address security or to make sure that state troopers are aware and recognize those situations?
Well, first of all, I have every confidence about the state troopers and the job that they do here. And as you know, they are armed, and we do have careful scrutiny here, security at the Capitol. And is it my understanding that the people that would be able to bring firearms are those people that have authority and permits to do so?
Do you need to train the security personnel at the entryways for anything?
Well, I think they are trained, and I think they know what they're doing. And I have every confidence that, Sergeant Logston and the others that protect us here will do a great job.
Why do you need the mags?
Well, again, this is something that people, I think, feel strongly about their rights as citizens. And this is something that
I get that part, but everybody can bring a gun in.
not everybody,
Has a permit.
right. There's not that many people that have permits. It's a real,
Everybody might know.
right. Yeah, out of 3 million. That's well, right. These are responsible, law-abiding citizens who want to have their rights protected. And I don't see anything wrong with that.
Do you think though that because of that, you'll need more security overall here? And the first line of defense of the building are people who are not armed. So will those rules have to change? Will you need more troopers?
No, I don't think so. I feel very safe and secure here in the Capitol, and I think they do a great job. And I don't see that changing.
Speaking to Captain Logston, he mentioned that there's a range of possibilities here where you may need someone who has a little more authority to check these permits. That could have a ripple effect on the wait time that might mean more staff. If that's the case, or is that something that you're willing to ensure that there's additional money for staffing?
Well, first of all, I just want to make sure that the safety of the citizens of our state is protected, and people feel that they have access to the Capitol, and the rights of our citizens under the Second Amendment are also protected. And so I will certainly work with them on that. And I do feel very safe. I think our law enforcement people do a great job here at the Capitol. And consequently, we live in one of the safest states, and I think one of the safest capitals in the nation.
Right, this last question here.
We've asked you about this before, but some time has passed. There's a bill that would legalize limited use of fireworks in Iowa. Is that something that I think you can support?
Again, I always reserve judgment till I see bills in its final form. Most states in this country do permit fireworks. We have a lot of Iowans that go out of state to buy their fireworks. And so I am not opposed to Iowa having access to legal fireworks on a limited basis. I will, again, wait to see what's in it if indeed a bill passes. There has been proposals over the last many years on this, but we are one of the very few states that has very restrictive laws on fireworks.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you.